then the final prophet came. And this is for all time to come. This is final, permanent, and till the end of this world. Now, Sharia actually is derived from the Jali Wahi, from Quran, as well as from the Sunnah, not Hadith. Sunnah is the practice of the Prophet. And we have two sources of Sunnah. One is the continuity of the practice of the Muslims. The companions saw the Prophet and followed him, and then the Tabi'een saw the companions and followed them. So this continuity is coming. This is one source, a bigger source of Sunnah. And the other is Hadith. So these are the two permanent sources of Islamic law, Sharia, Quran and Sunnah. But then there was ijtihad. Actually, I have to talk about this subject when I talk tomorrow about the political structure of Islam. So this ijtihad, that is in changing conditions. When we have new problems, then we have to make ijtihad, keeping ourselves within the parameters of Quran and Sunnah. But we have to frame further laws. So Sharia now has this third element also. And that is why we have Hanafi school and Shafi school, because they have their own judgments and ijtihad. And now Quran and Sunnah and ijtihad, they go to make one Sharia.
I have a question. In fact, maybe I have misunderstood about the case of Talim Asma. Now, this Talim Asma is the name of the things which is on earth, or the names of the God? For us to understand God, to know God, because the basic thing that we have been sent to this world is to know God, to have knowledge of God. So to my knowledge, I knew that Allama Asma here means the names of God, rather than being the names of the things on earth.
Yes, brother, actually when I was talking about that, I said that there are more than one explanations of this. So one is which you are presenting. The other is that the asma and names of the prophets to come. That man has something good in him also, although he will make fasad and there will be bloodshed through this human beings. But you can see there will be Moses, there will be Jesus, there will be Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is another opinion. But my opinion is the one which I have presented. This is the knowledge of the material world. We know something and name it.
Okay. Is the knowledge of material world different than the asma of God, or attributes of God? When we think, because God, in fact, creates things, and then we know the things.
No, this universe is,
because this is connected with the evolution as well.
Is the shadow of only one name, and that is Khaliq, Al-Mubdi', Al-Badi', that's all. But this universe has so many things that we have to know them and we have to name them. Every science has its own terminology. Unless you know that terminology, you can't understand the science. So I think this terminology and names of things.
First, I'd like to also thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to follow Ibrahim's question and your answer to Ibrahim's question, which I think fits into some of the things that you said. If the collective we in this world, if we are going the wrong way, to use collective language, which has been emphasized here, if God is not going to and does not intend to intervene, if indeed, as you also said, we only have, again to use a colloquial language, voices in the wilderness who are advising us the other way, and we therefore cannot be at this point optimistic that the civilization's going the wrong way is going to change, then how can we expect the kingdom of God on earth to come about?
When I said God doesn't intervene, I meant from beginning. The beginning has to be from human beings. they have to struggle. God has intervened by sending His prophets, His books, His guidance. That is also intervention. Now it is for the human beings to follow them and to strive to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth, the divine kingdom, the Islamic State. And that is our job. But when we are doing that, Allah will help us, God will help us. So that help will come. But without our own effort and endeavor, it is not going to come. He will not do it for us. We have to start, but then the help will come.
But let me just press a little more, if I may. Again, how can we be optimistic given the present condition of the world that you described? How can we be optimistic that in the human struggle things are going to change? And if I go to the Islamic belief that the final prophet has come, well, then how can we be optimistic that we're going to have other prophets who are going to come to help us? We can't even expect that.
Yes, no new prophet is to come. But we have a concept in Islam of mujaddids, the revivers. And the Prophet said in every century, Allah will send people who will revive Islam and the basic thoughts of Islam and basic teachings of Islam. These are called mujaddids. And they have been coming in every century. So mujaddids will come, and then the divine help will come. And secondly, although we believe that no new prophet is going to come, but Jesus is to come. He has to come again. We believe, just like the Christian brothers, the second coming of Jesus. And through Him actually, this is going to be a global kingdom of heaven on earth. But it will start from among Muslims. At a critical juncture, when the Antichrist appears, we call him Dajjal, then Christ will come Himself. He will descend. This is our belief.
So that means that the human agency would be futile somewhat.
Not futile,
Because
but they will be crowned by something for help, and this will be another help. But first of all, in Arabia, these are the prophecies of the Prophet. An Islamic State will be established. And before that, an Islamic state will be established somewhere in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Because the prophecy says that the armies will come from some eastern country to establish the rule of Mahdi. يَخْرُجُ نَاسٌ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ يُعْتِعُونَ لِلْمَهْدِي يعني سُلْطَانَهُ. So this is going to be a human effort first of all, and then Allah will help. Mahdi will be the last mujaddid, and mujaddids have been coming.
I have another question, which is of a general nature about the type of discourse that you have presented, which is not, of course, novel in Islamic theology. Since Muslims have been discussing that since the Tadween age in the 2nd, 3rd centuries of Hijrah, especially with the Ash'arite philosophy that you have presented so well today. But there have been other types of philosophy within Islam, such as the Mu'tazilite philosophy, or perhaps Sufi philosophy and theology, and so on and so forth. And this is a historical fact, which I'm not going to dwell on very much. But what I'm concerned about is the type of education that we have in South Asia nowadays, the type of Islamic education that has been commonly referred to as madrasa system. And the madrasa system is based primarily, perhaps, on the type of theological discourse that you have presented. But the madrasa system in South Asia, especially in the modern era, in the 20th century, 21st century, seems to be totally cut off from the concerns of contemporary Muslims. Although there's that balance in a normative way between the physical and the spiritual that you have talked about. But if we discuss the madrasa system in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, in Kashmir, in Afghanistan, madrasa graduates do not seem to understand the modern world at all. They don't even seem to understand such basic Islamic issues as